During the visit to India, Queen Tejkumari Devi, the wife of Khatkasam Sher Jang Bahadur Rana, expressed her desire to build the Taj Mahal in Nepal after seeing the Taj Mahal of Agra, India. But while she was alive, her dream of building the Taj Mahal in Nepal could not be fulfilled, and Queen Tejkumari Devi died. After the death of Queen Tejkumari Devi, her mortal remains were cremated on the banks of Kali Gandaki River, which forms the border between Palpa and Sangja. This area is called Khat because of cremation. The dense forest near that Khat was called Rani Forest. The Khat was named Rani Khat after combining it with Rani Forest. As he loved his queen very much, he decided to build a palace as a symbol of the queen's desire and his love for his queen. Then Khatkasam Sher started looking for a suitable place to build a palace. And finally, after the last rest of the queen, he decided to build a palace on the huge rock on the edge of bank. So the palace had to be built in a good way because it was a symbol of his queen's love. After he did not find engineer and palace architecture as he thought in Nepal, he went to Britain. He was very fond of British architecture, so Khatkasam Sher dared to build his palace in British style. Immediately, he took engineers from Britain to build the palace. The palace was established on the same huge rock on the bank of the Kali Gandaki River, which forms the border of Palpa and Sangja and next to the Khat where the queen was cremated. According to the queen's wish, a palace with 2 ponds in front, a temple nearby, a flower garden and is spread over an area of 56 feet, 112 feet height, 3 floors with balconies and 5 rooms which was built. The palace was initially named Taj Mahal after Queen herself, but later it was merged with the nearby Rani Forest and Taj Mahal was named in RaniMahal. The stairs, floors, windows, doors and railing of the palace were made of wood and gradually a mango garden was also prepared around the palace area. RaniMahal is located at a distance of 13 km from Tansen Batasidada. On the time, the road from Tansen to RaniMahal was very difficult, so Khatkasam Sher also took a narrow path from Tansen to reach RaniMahal. Palpa and Sangja are close districts, although the distance between these two districts is close. The Kali Gandaki River in the middle made it very difficult to move from one to the other side. To solve that problem, Khatkasam Sher also built a small and another large suspension bridge across the Gandaki River. This bridge made it easy to transfer people, four-footed animals and goods from one district to another. Khatkasam Sher stayed in the palace after building the palace as a symbol of the queen's love. But after a few years, the royal family left RaniMahal Palace and settled in India. No one knows why they left the palace and settled in India. After the royal family stopped living, the RaniMahal place gradually fell into disappear. The palace item used by the royal family started to be stolen and lost. The palace became lonely after the items showing the history of the royal family in the palace were also stolen and the palace became chaotic. Everything was normal, but in Nepal's 2042, due to a sudden windstorm, the big suspension bridge of RaniMahal collapsed completely and was damaged. About 6 people died in that incident and some people were injured. Some pieces of the broken bridge were wasted away by the river and the surrounding village built bridges in their place to cross the small rivers. After a few years, a new suspension bridge was constructed at the same place. The local government took responsibility for the preservation of RaniMahal Palace. The palace was almost on the verge of collapse. Since it is known as the Taj Mahal of Nepal, tourists from the country and abroad start coming to see the RaniMahal Palace. So then, the government had to protect the RaniMahal Palace at any cost. The government began to protect the RaniMahal Palace from destruction. RaniMahal had become a tourist destination, but due to some circumstances, tourists could not reach RaniMahal Palace even if they wanted to, because Tansen's way RaniMahal was very difficult. The road was not wide. During the drought, dust and rain made the road impassable. People used to visit RaniMahal while walking. But many tourists were not able to visit RaniMahal Palace because there was no way to reach the palace with vehicles. As a solution to that, the government budget was allocated and the work of digging and pitching the road to RaniMahal was started. After a few years, the work of widening the road is still going on. A little above RaniMahal, there is a big cataract called Vaikunthavir. People have to be very careful while passing the vehicles from this place. Many places can be reached from RaniMahal Palace. RaniMahal is reached from Tansen via Narandada, Awal, Hathidhunga, Vaikunthavir. From RaniMahal, you can go to the palace according to your destination. Satuka, Alamdevi, Khordi, Piwa, Cherlum, Bauga Gumma, Argali, Weiga, Birga, Takichau, Mirmi, Brangdi, Amdada, Narandada, and Kalabari are the near villages of RaniMahal. RaniMahal is not only a tourist but also a religious palace because the river Kaligandaki flows here. On the various festivals like first day of Nepali Vaishak, Ekadasi, Maghe Sankranti, and others, tourists and devotees go to RaniMahal to worship Kaligandaki and bath in the river. Tourists and locals believe that touching the water of Kaligandaki river will wash away sins and get rid of various diseases. RaniMahal area is also known as Ghat, where Queen Tejkumari Devi was cremated. In the village around RaniMahal, when people die, the tradition of taking them to the Ghat of RaniMahal and burning them to earth. Gandaki has been passed down from the ancestors. Therefore, on different days, people perform worship towards Gandaki in the memory of their ancestors. Various sport competitions are also held in the palace premises and on the bank of the river. Recently, the National Women Volleyball Tournament was held on the river bank of Kaligandaki. After crossing the bridge from RaniMahal to Sangja on the way to Khordi, there was one skilled for cooking kachchiu. Since Nepal's year 2068, that furnace has been completely closed. Nowadays, the tourists who come to visit RaniMahal may not even know about that furnace. RaniMahal Palace is not only the Taj Mahal of Nepal and the palace that carries the history of Nepal, also a symbol of love. This palace shows a picture of ancient history, but the government has removed the old thing in the palace and put new thing in order to preserve the palace. Like earlier, the roof of RaniMahal Palace was made by stamping with stone, but now zinc sheets are stuck on it. Earlier, only wood was used to make the floor of the palace, but now the stone is covered with clay. Earlier, the walls of the palace were carved with various pictures, figures, and traditional royal style, but now they all have been removed, due to which there is a fear that the form of showing the history of RaniMahal Palace will be lost. It is very important for stakeholders and Nepal government to focus on this. The Nepal government is unaware of the impact on the palace by creating a corridor from the Kaligandaki above the palace to reach different places through Cherlum, which is likely to put the palace at the risk in the future. RaniMahal Palace will become a history in the future and exist as a junction where travelers can reach the Taj Mahal of Nepal, the border of Palpa and Sangja, and a way to various places. For this, RaniMahal Palace conservation is still necessary. Across from RaniMahal Palace is a huge, large, spacious ground. This ground has become a very beautiful and destination palace for those who visit RaniMahal and spend the night enjoying themselves on the bank of the river. Vehicles leave from Tansen to RaniMahal at regular intervals. If you hike on foot, you can reach RaniMahal Palace from Tansen in about 2 or 3 hours. Since the road from Tansen to RaniMahal is downhill, you can also go by bicycle. But while returning, it is difficult to come to Tansen from RaniMahal by riding a bicycle. Now we all have to work together to protect the RaniMahal Palace. Let's
come and handshake and start our journey for this.